Welcome to the Explainer. So look, we've all been there, or at least we've all had that nagging fear of being there. You know the feeling. You're driving along Interstate 35, you're commuting to work, or you're just rushing to manage a tight schedule, and suddenly it hits you that you've completely ignored a critical warning on your dashboard. Today, we're breaking down the exact timeline and the hidden mechanics of running out of gas on busy Texas routes. We're going to look at the entire anatomy of a breakdown, step by step, to understand exactly what happens to your car and your safety when that fuel finally runs dry. All right, I want you to put yourself right in the driver's seat for a second. You're cruising down the highway. The air conditioning is just blasting against that intense Texas heat. But down on your dashboard, this tiny, glowing fuel light has been on for just a little too long. Your stomach drops. Suddenly, the engine gives this violent, terrifying sputter, and then absolute silence. So what exactly is happening under the hood in those final, stressful seconds? And more importantly, how do you survive the next few minutes without putting yourself in extreme danger?
Here is our stabilizing roadmap for today. We've got a logical, step-by-step way to handle this emergency. We'll start with the warning signs of an empty tank, cover immediate roadside safety steps, compare your recovery options, dive into the mechanical consequences, and wrap up with some delivery FAQs.
Okay, let's dive into this. Part 1. Warning signs of empty. A vehicle rarely just dies out of nowhere, right? Recognizing these incredibly brief mechanical warnings before total power loss can literally give you the precious seconds you need to avoid a catastrophic accident. Chronologically, here's the visceral, physical experience of your engine failing. First, you'll feel a distinct loss of acceleration. You step on the gas pedal and nothing. No power, no response. Immediately following that, you'll likely feel a sudden, unpredictable engine surge. The car violently jerks forward because those last few remaining fumes and drops of fuel are being sporadically pushed into the injectors. And then finally, as the engine completely stalls, you lose all your power assists. Suddenly, your steering wheel feels incredibly heavy, like you're driving a tank, and your brake pedal gets super stiff, meaning you have to use massive physical force just to slow the vehicle down.
Moving on to Part 2. Immediate roadside safety steps.
Okay, so your engine is failing, you're losing speed rapidly, and you are basically driving a 2-ton metal box with absolutely no power. Here is your required survival protocol. First, hit those hazard lights immediately to warn the drivers flying up behind you. Second, shift your transmission straight into neutral. This is so crucial because it allows your car to coast further on its remaining momentum. You need that momentum to find a safe spot and avoid pulling over onto littered shoulders where debris could puncture a tire. You do not want to turn a simple fuel issue into a flat tire emergency. Aim for a wide shoulder, a parking lot, or a grassy median. Once you're safely off the road, put the car in park, engage that emergency brake, and keep your seatbelt securely fastened.
Now here's a detail you might not expect. If you absolutely have to step out of the vehicle to assess your surroundings, keep your keys in your hand. You see, the stress of a breakdown does strange things to our brains. A surprisingly common mistake people make is tossing their keys right onto the driver's seat as they step out and then slamming the door shut behind them. Now, instead of just needing a splash of gas, you're standing out on a dangerous highway with a full-blown car lockout emergency, just trying to get back into your safe, climate-controlled cabin.
Part 3. Comparing your recovery options. Frame the scenario. You're safely pulled over, locked in your cabin, AC is off but you're safe, and your seatbelt is on. You've hit the critical decision-making climax. What do you do next? Now, what's really interesting about this comparison is how stark the contrast is. A lot of folks think, I'll just grab a plastic can and walk to a gas station. Well, the data shows this takes anywhere from 1 to 3 hours and carries an incredibly high safety risk. You're walking in extreme Texas heat alongside distracted drivers with zero pedestrian infrastructure. Plus, you're leaving your car totally vulnerable. Calling a friend or trying a rideshare app? That's going to take 45 to 90 minutes, and honestly, a rideshare driver might just flat out refuse to let you bring a gas can in their car. But look at the professional roadside option. It gets there in 20 to 45 minutes, has a super low safety risk, and is highly effective, because you literally never have to leave the safety of your car.
Let's transition over to Part 4, Hidden Mechanical Consequences. Stepping away from the immediate roadside danger for a second, let's reveal the unseen world inside your gas tank. Running on empty is an active, serious threat to your car's mechanical health, and it all comes down to a process called fuel starvation. This is the exact science of why your engine jerks and loses momentum on those final fumes. When the tank runs dry, the fuel pump stops drawing in liquid gasoline and starts violently sucking in pure air, which causes that terrifying loss of power.
And this brilliantly illustrates exactly what's at stake. A healthy fuel pump actually relies on the liquid gasoline inside your tank to keep it cool and lubricated. So when you run it completely dry, that pump is suddenly just sucking air and overheating rapidly. To make matters worse, especially in older vehicles, there's usually dirt, debris, and rust settle at the bottom of the tank. A dry pump acts like a giant vacuum cleaner, pulling all those concentrated contaminants directly into your fuel filter and injectors. Doing this can lead to premature fuel pump failure, potentially costing you hundreds of dollars in repairs.
Here's a fantastic pro tip for you. Even after you finally manage to get some fresh gasoline into that bone-dry tank, your car still might struggle to start. Why? Because you sucked the fuel lines dry, and now they're just full of air. Modern fuel injection systems absolutely require specific pressure levels to work. So before you just crank the engine over and risk totally draining your battery, simply turn the ignition key to the on position several times. This primes the fuel lines and safely rebuilds the pressure. This is exactly the kind of specific mechanical nuance a professional roadside technician already understands.
Let's move to and see how this builds into Part 5, Professional Fuel Delivery FAQs. If you've made the smart choice to stay in your car and call in the experts, you probably have a few pressing questions. Let's run through a rapid-fire sequence of the most common FAQs. Say you're a stranded driver in Schertz, right? Your immediate question is probably going to be, how much gas are they actually bringing me? You know you aren't getting a full tank, so what's the deal?
The answer is usually exactly 2 to 3 gallons. Professional technicians bring this precise amount because it's perfectly calibrated to do 2 things: safely prime your empty engine to get it started, and provide you with more than enough driving range to easily reach a local service station so you can fill up the rest of the way yourself.
The very next urgent question is obviously about your schedule. You might be a parent scrambling to pick up kids, or you're on a strict deadline for work. How long are you literally going to be sitting on a busy shoulder waiting for someone to show up with gas?
Well, because local dispatchers operate directly within your area and actually understand the layout of the local roads, you can generally expect a technician to arrive within 30 to 45 minutes of your call. Honestly, when you compare that to the hours it might take to walk to a gas station and back in the blistering Texas heat, waiting for a pro is undeniably the fastest and most logical choice. Which leaves us with this final provocative thought to take away from today's explainer. When your car sputters out on a busy interstate, you might be tempted to just handle it yourself to save a delivery fee. But seriously, is saving a few dollars really worth risking your life walking unprotected down a highly dangerous Texas highway? The clear answer is no way. Prioritize your physical safety, protect your vehicle's mechanical health, and always rely on the professional experts to get you back on the road.